for the man himself, Wallace Mua.
So I got home and I was talking to my wife. I was saying to her, oh man, that was like really weird, eh? And she was like, oh no, that's normal. Like really, you know, she just brushed it off. She said, that's normal. And I said, oh, why? And she goes, oh, well, you know, it's the mafia. And I was like, hey? And she's like, yeah, I mean, it's a mafia-run restaurant. Like, that's kind of normal. You didn't know that? Like, no. And she goes, think about it. Like, wait, I'm working under the table. They pay me in cash. The fake bank statements, the fake contract, the fake pay slips. And then I turned around and I was like, oh my gosh, I work for the mafia.
I want to hear that. I want to hear that kind of the French language.
I went and saw him and I said, salut Christian. Désolé, j'ai un peu de nouveau pour te dire. Il faut que je démissionne bientôt. Je vais retourner en Nouvelle-Zélande. That was basically it. He turns around to me and like in a real straight stoic face and he turns around and he goes, like in French he goes to me, non mais tu peux pas sortir France. And I was like, so basically what he said to me was, you can't leave France. And then my heart started beating. I was like, the general manager came and sat me down and he basically said, okay, look, you've got 32 in your team. We need to make it 16. And then so I had to choose the who to keep and who to
say goodbye to.
Who to say goodbye to. You know, this is where like I had this moment of like, do I think with my mind or do I think with my heart? You know, do I think with the head or the heart? And you know, I had say for example, I had younger chefs who were really great chefs, and then I had older chefs who weren't that great. But those older chefs had kids, and then your younger chefs, you know, they have a mom and dad they can always go back to and stay for a while. So, you know, I went with the heart and I decided, like, you know, I'll just find a way to justify keeping the older guys. So I wrote this one. It was about drug addiction. You took everything, left a smell of disease that just won't give me no peace, yeah. And even when I'm high, part of me still dies. Feeling you so easy, but in the end I'm so uneasy, babe.
Oh man, Wallace, solid. Oh. Mandate. Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from Tāmaki Makaurau. He is from the beautiful place in central Culinary called Mount Roskill. He is an amazing individual who happens to have an amazing skill and amazing talent. He happens to be one of our leading chefs at Aotearoa, New Zealand. He is the executive chef of Trivet, but he's also helped to serve as a chef for the All Blacks, for the Mighty ABs in 2023. The man says he's simple and elaborate. It also is a mixture of his Samoan heritage in terms of his cooking and his culinary skills. The man has an interesting story to share. Please put your hands together for the man himself, Wallace Mua.
That was an introduction. That was an introduction. I got to learn off you and do some homework next time too.
Bro, tell you Wallace, man, maro lava so for totally lava. I know you're busy, man. I know the work that you do can be very high pressure at many times. But also, I thought just to start the ball rolling, tell us, because it's been an incredible journey thus far. I've seen you on YouTube, seeing the snips, all these video clips and so forth, and the journey of you being to different other restaurants, but now you're at Trivet, executive head chef and so forth. Tell us, how has the journey been for you thus far in this day and age, but more so in 2025?
Well, I wouldn't say it was an easy journey. I'd say I've been blessed to have a tough journey and an easy journey. I'd say right now I'm just, you know, taking the blessings in and I'm happy with where we're at. There's always an opportunity to get better, but at the moment, at present, you know, I'm just happy with what I have and what God's blessed me with.
Yeah, man, love also. And so, because I know the journey started very much younger when you were probably, I think there's an article you said you were 15 years old cooking and then you're washing the dishes and so forth. So maybe if we can run it back in, because for those who may be listening, who's Wallace? What does Wallace do? What's in terms of his chef skills, but also the journey so thus far? Tell us how it all kind of stemmed and give us a bit of, what was the catalyst?
Well, I guess I think when you're growing up and as an islander, especially, and you really want to contribute, but you also want to make your own money. And I guess I started playing rugby when I was younger, and I was lucky enough to have coaches who would work to take us overseas. And in doing that, it kind of gave me the mindset that I needed to pay for my own fare. I didn't want to burden my family with any of that. So my sister got me a job at my very first job, and that was at 15 years old. And I would wash dishes. So what I would do was after my rugby games, I would rush off. I'd wash dishes, or I would work in housekeeping at the hotel. And just a bit of a full circle. That hotel was the Hilton Hotel, and I would later go back 14 years later as an exec chef. So it kind of, for me, it was a real full circle moment, walking back into that kitchen and expecting, these massive changes. And then I walked in and it was still the same from 14 years ago. But yeah, I was just blessed that my sister was there to help me out with that. And she's always been a part of my journey. When I first moved out of home and I really got into chefing, I moved into her place with her partner now, Eddie, and I was probably I treated the place like a hotel, and we all laugh about it now, but it was I would go to work, go out all night, and then come home, sleep a few hours, and then do the same. And for me, I was lucky that I had that opportunity to do that, especially as a chef, because you work some crazy hours. But you also learn back then there was a culture of, you work hard, you play just as hard. So not having to sneak back home and smell like alcohol and
the blankets
at mom's home.
Blankets over you.
Exactly. This 17, 18-year-old me thinking that, you're hiding the smell of alcohol from your mom by putting the blanket over your head. It helped. And it also gave me a bit of freedom, but it also taught me a bit of independence, which kind of helped me a lot as I grew, which I'm still doing.
Man, I'll tell you what, because you said you're 15 years old, you're washing dishes, and you were doing this because you were trying to pay your fares to go to rugby? Is it what I'm gauging?
Yeah, just to go on rugby tours.
Yeah, rugby tours. So how did you know? How did you know? When was that defining moment where you realized, I'm pretty good at this? Because some people think, I'm good at cooking, and then they realize, no, I'm not really good at it. But you just knew you had the knack. What was the kind of like the turning point where you thought, man, I really can do something with this?
Well, I think I was working for about, say, 6 years as a chef. And, within that 6 years, I had so many different opportunities to have that moment. And I learned from some great chefs during that time. And I still don't think during that first 6 years I was taking it as seriously as I should have been. I think for me, it was still like a job that was supposed to hold me over until I kind of figure out what I want to do. What I didn't notice in that time was that that Polynesians were very artistic on the plate. When it came to plating the foods, you'd have I had an English head chef who was kind of like, he was like my mentor, and he would show us a dish, right? And then as soon as like one of the usos would plate it, it'd look exactly the same, sometimes even better. It was so much more artistic. I think that moment happened for me when I was, it was probably my first week when I moved to France. I was about 23 years old, and I was sitting on the beach, and I remember I was at the beach, like we were sitting on a restaurant, and like on this white sandy beach, and they told us, the waiter came and asked me, what did I want to eat? So I ordered a Capri salad. It was it's a tomato, mozzarella, a basil salad, very typical. And I remember when the plate was brought to me, I looked at it and it wasn't like fancily plates or anything. It was like a brasserie that did a salad. So I remember like tasting it. And then when I put my head up, I looked around and like I'm sitting in the south of France, like basically on the beach, because the restaurant was like literally on the beach. And then like, you know, there was just this real calm and peace to it. And then like tasting that dish reminded me of home. So the thing was, I was making that dish for like 6 years prior to that. And for me, I was making the dish, making it look pretty, season it, and then put it up on the pass. And then it would go to whoever was going to consume it. And until that moment, I never really thought of what that dish did to the person that was receiving it. For me, it was always the action of making it and then sending it and then just forgetting about it. And to have that moment where I was sitting there and being the person that received it and then tie that in with the surrounding that I was in. And I was like as far away from Samoa, New Zealand as I could be. It kind of really hit home, and I was like, wow, like, you know, I didn't realize that this is what food does to the person on the other side of the pass who's eating it. So it really opened up my eyes, and then, you know, kind of really brought that artistic thing that I was really into when I was younger back into, you know, what I was doing. Because for me, it wasn't really something that I was, you know, thinking it was going to be a career. And then up to that point, I thought, you know what, I can actually really do this, something that I can really be passionate about.
It's BT here from The Mandate, and just wanted to acknowledge AOKNZ, which stands for Acts of Kindness. They're an organization that runs suicide prevention, intervention, and wellbeing training up and down the country. And so they help equip and teach people to have these life-supporting conversations. And they are proud sponsors of the Mandate podcast and in partnership with Mandate Podcast. And so give them a call or give them a browse on online, AOKNZ. Man. So it's interesting, Wallace. It's like you get to get out of here, out of New Zealand, go there. Because you say in France, was it France?
Yeah.
You're saying in France, you're having this salad and you're eating it, and it's just kind of like was it like a light bulb moment? Like, man,
yeah,
maybe I can really do something with this. And look at you now, because I know you stayed in France for 6 years, right? 6 years. So after that moment, Wallace, what was a snowball? Was it just automatically, okay, let's just get into this, I'm going to go full, just 100% in it? Or was it just kind of like a gradual, like, okay, process for you to, you know, I'm going to continue. I love this. There's a fire that's been awakened.
That's a great question. I would say that it kind of awoke a seriousness in me of, like, you know, taking advantage of this opportunity that I had. You know, I had learned from some really great chefs, you know, in that 6 years that I was, you know, prior to me going to France. And then it just made me think, like, you know, whilst I'm here, I need to take advantage of this. I need to learn as much. I got to be a sponge. So I went to a lot of, so I said to my girlfriend, who's my wife now, I said to her, you know, I need to start working as soon as possible. And she said, no, like, we're going to wait. And I was like, no, I really need to start working. I need to start working because I need to start learning. But B, I need the money as well. And she said, no, just spend the first 3 months trying to learn the language. So we'll party, we'll get drunk for the first 3 months. And it's summer.
As you do.
And then she goes, on the fourth month, you start looking for work. And I was like, are you sure I'm going to find work? She was like, yeah, I'm sure. You could bear in mind that I only had a year on my visa. It was a working holiday visa. I'll explain later how I ended up, I made a year into 6 years. But yeah, so we, once I did start working, kind of like, I went, so my first job I went to, it was, I remember very clearly, like, I went, handed in my CV, and they gave me a call. I went back that same afternoon, and the head chef, met him, and my French was much better now, so I could understand. And my wife, she was right. Like, I shouldn't have started straight away because I would have just been totally lost. I didn't speak a lick of French. So what happened was that 3 months would party, and then what happens is I would start when I was a bit inebriated, I'd lose my inhibitions, so I would start speaking more often, and so it helped me learn faster. The effort of it.
I like it, man. Come on, good one, man. Good one, man. It helped to learn faster.
But I went to my first role, and I'd been working at really great kitchens here. I was working with Gareth at Seoul, and also at the Hilton. And so I was learning in these real big machines of kitchens. But this place was a really small place, and they had about 3 chefs. So I went in and I did my trial. And then they called me back that same afternoon to come do a service. And I met the head chef for the first time. And the head chef, he's like this really short, really rough. I don't want to say gypsy, but he was kind of like a gypsy. And I remember this moment very clearly because I was like, this kitchen is small. It's not what I'm used to, but hey, this is a learning experience. So he's teaching me this dish, puts on the steak, and then he pulls out a lighter, and I was like, oh, I'm sure he lit the stove, eh? And then at the same time, he pulls out a packet of cigarettes, and right in front of the stove, he pulls out a cigarette, lights it, and I'm just standing there like, holy shit, I've never seen this boy. He starts smoking cigarettes, starts explaining the dishes to me, and I was like, oh, this must be a French thing.
Is it normal?
Nah, it's not normal. This was just the way they worked. And so it got to, I ended up staying there for 3 months, and I was loving my time over there. But at the same time, I needed to learn. I wanted to make the most of that experience. And with the working holiday visa, the rule is that you can only stay 3 months at an establishment, and then you have to move on to the next. So ideally, you've worked 4 different establishments in that year.
Oh.
So it's coming up to my 3 month where I had to talk to the manager, and I said, look, and to the chef, I said, look, it's 3 months. I think I have to go soon. I have to start looking for a new job. And he turned around and he said, look, if you want to stick around, it's fine with us. You can, you're allowed to come. Don't worry about that. The government won't check. And I was like, oh man, it's really nice, but I don't want to get in trouble. In my head, I knew that it would be sweet if I stayed, but I was like, man, I need to go and experience another kitchen. And so I ended up leaving. But I'll circle back round to those guys because they have an interesting story, that workplace.
Bro, and so you left that establishment, and then where did you go after that?
So I went and did a hotel, Radisson, and then I did another little place. I think it was called Spock, but I could never really get into those really high-end Michelin star restaurants just because I didn't have a qualification with me. I worked at another 2 places, and then it got to the point where my visa was about to run out. And so I ended up, I was talking to my wife. I was like, I'm really not ready to go back to New Zealand, not just yet. I mean, I miss my family, but, I still feel like I haven't, done enough, or I haven't learned enough. So she goes to me, just go and ask the guys the first place that you worked at. And I was like, do you reckon they'll take me? And she was like, yeah, they'll take you for sure. So I went over, and in New Zealand, it's really a big thing. If you don't have a visa, there's no way you can get a job. So I went back to those guys, and I asked them, look, guys, do you reckon I can come back and work with you? And they were like, yeah, fine. I was like, yeah, but you probably should know that I don't have a visa. And they were like, it's fine, we'll pay you in cash. So I got really lucky with them. So I ended up staying there for another 3 years. Well, I'll say another 2 years. I ended up staying there. And this is where it gets really funny because I reckon it was about a year in. We were looking for, me and my partner were looking for an apartment. And when I went to see a landlord, they said, yeah, you need to give me a full-time contract. You need to give me your pay slips and everything, and a bank statement. So I went into work one day, and one of the managers, he saw me and he goes, oh, what's up with you? And I said, oh, look, I want to get an apartment, but I have to have a full-time contract. I have to have a bank statement. I have to have pay slips. Obviously, it's not possible. And he looked at me and he was like, I'll come see you tomorrow. So he turns up the next day and he hands me this envelope. And then when I open it, it's got this fake contract, it's got this fake bank slip, and it's got this fake pay slip. And it's all got my name on it. And I was like, yo, you're the man. Thank you. And so he goes, use that, give it to the landlord, and you should be fine to get the apartment. So I used it. We got the apartment. We stayed there for another 2 years. And then there was a few events that leaded up to, like, say, there was a few events where I was like, we were having a party or something, and we were talking, and then something happened at work, I think, and then like there was a really violent reaction to it, and then so I got home and I was talking to my wife, and I was saying to her, oh man, that was like really weird, eh? And she was like, oh no, that's normal, like really, she just brushed it off. She said, that's normal. And I said, oh, why? And she goes, oh, well, that's the mafia. And I was like, hey? And she's like, yeah, I mean, it's a mafia-run restaurant. Like, that's kind of normal. You didn't know that? You didn't know that?
You just found out then, right there.
And then I was like, no. And she goes, think about it. And I started thinking about it. And I was like, wait, I'm working under the table. They're paying me in cash. The fake bank statements, the fake contract, the fake pay slips. Wow. And then I turned around and I was like, oh my gosh, I work for the mafia. And she was like, nah, don't worry, they're the nicest guys. Like, they're the nicest guys. It's bad for business for anything to happen to you. And I was like, okay. So it got to the point where I had to leave, because I was like, man, okay, it's been about 4 years. I think it's time for us to go back to New Zealand. So when it came that time, I was really nervous about having this conversation with them, and I went up to the manager, who was basically like the top dog, and he goes and he says, so I tell him in French, yeah, I think we're gonna be leaving soon, so we're gonna be heading.
You know what? Well, let's say it in French, because I want to hear that. I want to hear that kind of that French language. Help you when you were saying.
Put me on the spot.
Yes, because it must be, because the story is amazing. But yeah, so just put in the French, the language.
So I think, if I remember correctly, I went and saw him and I said, "Salut Christian, désolé, j'ai un peu de nouveau pour te dire. Il faut que je démissionne bientôt. Je vais retourner en Nouvelle-Zélande." That was basically it.
Zuma. Bro, man, your French is good, man. Oh my gosh. So yeah, man, that's beautiful. But so what was the reaction? Well, yeah, tell us, man.
So this was the reaction after I said this, and I'm like I was a bit shaky, and he turns around to me, and like in a real straight, stoic face, and he turns around and he goes, like in French, he goes to me, non, mais tu peux pas sortir France. And I was like, so basically what he said to me was, you can't leave France. And then my heart started beating. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you can't leave France. And then I was getting more scared, and I was like, oh, tu dis quoi? Qu'est-ce que tu dis? Like, what are you saying? Yeah. What do you mean? But because I was nervous, he was actually saying, you can't leave through France. And then he goes to me, yeah, you just take this bus, take it at this time, take it down to Italy, and then get your plane ticket out through Italy. And he goes, you want to return back to France? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he goes, yeah, well, you do this, because if you leave through France, you're going to get flagged every time you come back in.
Jeez, what a story, man.
I got freaked out when he said that.
So you had no idea. You had no idea you were working for the mafia, and then you're obviously good on your wife saying, hey, this is normal. This is what it is. You had no idea. You're kind of freaking out, and then you tell them, and then it's interesting. Because you think of those movies there, Wallace,
Goodfellas.
Yeah, Goodfellas. Oh, you're not going anywhere. Forget about it.
Once you're in the family,
you die with the family. You're part of the family. All that. But geez, then you get out there. What a lovely people. Because I don't know anything about mafia, but how the movies depict mafia, they're quite ruthless. They can be loving, but cutthroat. If you mess with them, you're dead.
Yeah.
But these guys,
guys,
they treated you like family, eh?
Man, they took me everywhere with them. Like, we'll go play soccer with them. I mean, soccer. They would give me a scooter to go riding around with them, and it was just, they were real good dudes.
Jeez.
I still keep in touch with some of them sometimes.
So you knew people in high places, man.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that they. I wouldn't say that for legal reasons.
Bro, that's crazy, man. Like, people are not privy to some of these stories, and man. But thank you for sharing that. Like, oh my gosh. So you have the Samoan boy who's in France, and then all this. So in your mind, you said your heart was racing. Your heart was racing. What is it? And then he's offering you help to get out of France.
Yeah,
and so you can ensure that you can come back to France.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, if he didn't give me that advice, I would have just went straight out of France and then be blacklisted to ever come back in. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for him, then I wouldn't have been able to go back with to be able to go back with the ABs or go back to another 2-year stint there.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, I was really lucky.
But just go back to the learning part, Wallace, because you said you wanted to learn as much as you could whilst you were there in France. What was the biggest learning? What was the biggest in terms of, it could be anything, in terms of you being there, the culture, cooking? What was the biggest learning whilst you were in Paris or France?
So it was in Marseille, which was, you're in France, but you're like, they like to think, because it's so multicultural in there, and they're on the border of the Mediterranean Sea, so they have a lot of African immigrants that come over. I'd say definitely for myself, in regards to my career, it was my palate. I learned how to distinguish what good food was, and then what food that had, so much years of knowledge behind it. The thing I loved about France was that they're an old culture who love their food and love eating, so they're very loyal to what they do, and I could taste it in the way they made their food and the products that they used. Whereas New Zealand, we're a younger country, and we don't necessarily. Well, we didn't. I think we're much better now, but like, say, even 10 years ago, we didn't necessarily have the know-how to produce the same type of products. For example, like wine or charcuterie. And so, because we're a young country, our food is young. Like, in regards to, it's very modern, and it's very multicultural. There's so many different cultures. Like, for example, you got Michael Meredith, and Henry, who both do tala and metita, which is like a really Samoan style food. But if you eat their food, you can taste the fusion of different flavors from different cultures in it, and it's beautiful. And that's what New Zealand and Australia that's been our strengths, is the fact that we're so multicultural and we get to mix it. Whereas in Europe, their strength is their ode to their past, their loyalty to it. Wow. They have recipes that are passed down through generations and generations, and you can taste that when it's made.
It's interesting. I appreciate that, because you're right. Sometimes people come in and they might try to look at a dish, Wallace. They look at a dish and they think, I should add this. But like you said, in Europe, they just keep to the classic. They keep to the original. And you come back here. And so when you came back to New Zealand from France, and how did you do that? How did you kind of implement some stuff? Because I know you say your style is elaborate but simple. But then you got the mix of the Samoan heritage and so forth. How did you know how to mix things and use your artistic abilities to enhance these foods, or to make them taste better than they already are?
Well, I think when I first came back, I still knew that I needed to learn a lot. So I actually went back. I contacted Gareth, and he gave me a job back at Solba, and kind of with that knowledge that I had gathered in France, it kind of helped me there. But I was not in a senior position, So I was what we call I was just a soldier on the line, and that experience in France helped me when I was on the line. But then that experience at Soba helped me as a chef as well. And it's really like even getting the job at Soba the first time around was a bit of a crazy story. So to answer your question, I would say that I was still learning a lot. I was still pretty young, so I hadn't had the position all the time to actually implement what I learned. And I think I actually only started implementing it like later on when I became a head chef, or when I got into those more senior roles, and that's when I could. So it sat in the back of my mind for another 8 years until I was able to use them.
Jeez. The whole story of you, obviously the mafia in France and so forth. But how do you know? Because I always want to ask the chefs. Obviously, you mentioned Michael Meredith and Henry Onisome, amazing chefs, amazing restaurants as well. But how do you know when you got something special, Wallace? You have the signature dish and you think, man, this is special. Because some people, you might think this is special, and then someone tastes it like, bro, this is average. This is bland. But you might think, but how do you know when you know this is the one?
I guess if you if you truly enjoy it yourself, I think a lot of the times I know when I've got a bad dish, and then I know when I've got a good dish because it's something that I'm willing to be miko with. Like I'll walk around like, taste this, taste this, taste this, and you kind of gauge their reactions as well. And I think with my team, I'm lucky because they're quite honest. If they don't like something or if they think that something needs to change, then they will. But there are times when I've had a hit, and then when I know I've got one, and then I'll go give it to them to taste, and all I want to hear is, doesn't need to change anything. It's perfect the way it is. So that's one. Also another way is just through trial and error. I mean, I've got a signature dish which is an oka, and it goes on a taro tour. But that took me years to get to that point, and I went through so many different reiterations until I had the response that I was happy with.
So as you said, the raw fish, the oka on what you say? What's on the?
It's like it's like galo chips, but it's made by like it's like a wafer of galo.
So is it in the back? Is it
No, I asked you if you wanted me to bring anything.
No. Oh, bro, that's cool. That's cool.
You asked me to bring the burger.
I'll bring the burger. But also, it is. I always find it, because I know as chefs, this is an element of creativity and like you said, the artistic ability to bring food to life, but even more so to make food taste just absolutely delicious. And so being in the kitchen, and obviously as a proud Samoan, 685 baby.
Yeah.
As a being proud Samoan, how do you, well, in terms of your culture, how do you bring it all together and kind of say this is part of the culture that I'm going to bring into this dish? What's the mindset around bringing whatever it is to the table and say this is going to be from my culture? I'm going to implement it. I'm going to bring it to this dish, and this is how I see it. How do you vision or bring it to life?
Just throw some coconut cream and galo in it. Just sweet. I'm hungry now. It's. I think like it all depends. Like, so Polynesian food is very simple. So to try and serve it into an environment like, say, it's a high end restaurant, you have to play with it. You have to kind of add to it, but at the same time, you got to try and keep the essence of the dish in it. So if you add too much, you lose the Samoanness of the dish. Whereas if you add too little, for your average customer who's not an islander, who doesn't know the essence of that dish, it can come off quite bland. So I guess it's just kind of trying to find that balance in between both. I wouldn't say that all my food is really inspired by my like Polynesian styles, because I mean I work in Auckland, and in Auckland it's multicultural. So I've learned so many different flavors from so many different chefs, from so many different walks of life, from so many different parts of the world. So trying to do it but without losing its essence, I guess, is what I'm trying to say to answer your question. But then also having that story to tell behind it too. My mom and my sisters, their food inspires me a lot too. So I kind of, something that I ate at Kongai, I would always try to replicate it, but then see how I could make it so that I could serve it on a dish in the restaurant. That goes a long way. And then I guess, having that, you've seen Ratatouille, there's that moment when he eats something and it reminds him of childhood. I think that's like the thing that every chef is just kind of chasing, is, to create that moment for that person. And obviously you're not going to do it every single time or to every person, because everyone's got different taste buds and everyone's got a different upbringing. But I would say, like, to be able to do something like that is probably one of the hardest things to do, but one of the most pleasurable things to see when you see it.
And when you hit it all the time, you just think, wow. Well, how much is that? 'Cause I often wonder, because some people think in the kitchen, whether it's a restaurant or fast food, it has to be, the taste must be consistent, must be the same. Every time they taste it, they think, this is from Chef Wallace. And for you, and sometimes people get hung up on perfection and so forth. And I'm not probably gauging Wallace. Is it the same for you, that when you're in the kitchen, you're running the kitchen, you're the head chef, everything, the dish, whatever the dish is, it has to be the same? Have there been times where you're like, my gosh, this is not the same dish I told you to do, or this is not the same dish I've created?
I guess that's up to the leader or the head chef of it. When you make a dish, you should probably have a recipe with it too, because if they make your dish and they don't have a recipe and it doesn't taste the same, you can't really hold blame on them. It's up to us as the leaders and the seniors in the kitchen to create that consistency. I think consistency is key, but at the same time, what would you call, a bit of adaptability doesn't hurt. My wife says I'm a perfectionist. I don't think I'm a perfectionist. But sometimes I think, and there's probably a few chefs that would kill me. And it was something that I learned as a youngster too, because I was taking it so seriously. Like, I was so deep into it, and nothing else mattered. And I have a few chefs that are like that, and you see the path that they're on. They take it seriously. They love what they do, which is beautiful to watch. But as someone that's grown up, and I've had a kid, I've had family, you kind of learn what's really important. And although I love my job, I love cooking, and I wouldn't want to do anything else in this whole world unless it paid me more. Sometimes you just got to remember it's only cooking.
Yeah. I like the your mindset on it, because some people, like you said, some people can take themselves too serious. But I know it's a high intense,
high pressure.
Yeah, high pressure. And well, tell us, have there been stories where you've been like, oh my gosh, this is just too much? Oh my gosh! And then the orders are probably not on time and so forth, because it is high pressure and high intensity. How do you handle that? How do you? Because there may be some times where, my gosh, I'm about to blow up, or you're not doing your job properly, and you see like Gordon Ramsay, all these kind of things on the TV, and head chefs and so forth. They're just yelling at the junior chefs and all that. Is it like that for you? Have there been moments like that? Whether when you started off in your career, early in your career, or you being that the person saying, "Hey, you better get your shit together," so to speak, and say, "Man, you better get this done." Tell us some of those stories.
I think when I was younger, I think it was much more prevalent, that style of leadership. I would say I haven't cried very often as an adult, but there was one shift, and I mean, you see a lot of people cry in the kitchen, and I've only cried ever once, and I wasn't in the kitchen. I think it was right before this trip to Samoa. I mean to France actually, and I remember it was Mother's Day, and I worked from 8 o'clock in the morning till midnight, and the whole day we were just getting slammed and slammed and slammed. And I remember I was just getting yelled at the whole day, and this was probably about 3 days before I was leaving for France. And I remember my brother came to pick me up, and we were driving home, and I was sitting in the front seat, and like he could tell something was wrong, and he's like, "You all good?" And I think I was just sitting there, and I was thinking, like that was a horrible day, and then add on top of that, this is Mother's Day, and I didn't spend it with my mom, and I'm about to go away for God knows how long in 3 days, and it just all piled up, and it just, it was the first time I cried like as a chef. So yeah, coming up, we used to see a lot of that. There was a different way of managing, and to be yelled at and to be screaming and to be angry constantly was like actually the normal. So I think a lot of us kind of handled it by, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, just finding ways to escape. But I think as I've grown older, I've learned how to kind of, well, I wouldn't say I haven't learned 100%, but there's ways I've learned to handle it. I run a lot. So I think back in 2009, I crashed my car drink driving. And as punishment to myself, what I used to do was I used to make myself run to work. So I used to run to work from Mount Roscoe, which is about a good 10 kilometers.
Oh, jeez.
And then I'd run back home after work. And this is after, like, say, a 14-hour shift. And so I got kind of into, I did that for about a good 3 months until I was like, if I keep on doing this, my body's going to break down. But it was my way of punishing myself. And then from that, I started doing it as like it was something that I enjoyed doing. Like, it was a good way to, like, de-stress, release. And it was also a good way to think about dishes. And now to this day, I run to work and then I run back home. And it's a good way to keep fit, but it's also a good way just to get rid of the day. I guess like kind of like you run into work, you're running into work and you're running into your problems at work. And then when you leave work like that, you're running away from work. And so you leave your problems at work, and it makes it much better when I don't bring my work life into my home life. And it means I can be fully present when I'm there. I can spend some quality time with my son and my wife.
That's awesome. Also, man, I love it. Also, man. So that's really good. That's really good in terms of like mental health and all that kind of stuff. Because it's interesting because you said you're high pressure and you have kind of like de-escalate or to relieve the stress and so forth. Besides the crying and have there been times, Wallace? And I hope it's okay to ask you this. Has there been times like, man, I don't need to do this crap. I don't need to do this anymore. Or the passion of cooking was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling it.
Oh man, you know how to ask these questions. It's questions, they relate to me so well. I've actually tried to leave. Three times I've actually tried to leave. So the first time I tried to leave, I think it was back in 2016, and so that I would, after work, I used to go run. I used to go running, and that running became my training because my mate had become a firefighter, and so he was enjoying it. So I was thinking, you know what, I'd love to go to a place where I could, I get to go and work out during the day, like when I'm at work, but also get to sleep at night when I'm at work. So I started training to get into that, and then the exec chef role came along, and I remember it was kind of weighing up, what do I want to do? Do I want to try this new career path, or do I want to stick to this, which I've been doing for about 12 years? And it was a waiter that pulled me aside, and he's a really smart guy called BJ. He doesn't work in hospo anymore, but he pulled me to the side and he's like, "You're being an idiot." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Man, if you get offered a job as an exec chef, I would take it, because this can open up many doors for your career, but also for your family." And so I went home. I had to talk to my wife, and she said, "Yeah, it's up to you. It's your decision." So I decided to stick with it. I think the second time was after lockdown. Oh no, so during lockdown. I'd say the second time was the first lockdown, and then during that time when you came back to work, and like things were starting to get back to normal. Actually, no, we were still on like whatever levels that they had, and the general manager came and sat me down, and he basically said, "Okay, look, you've got 32 in your team. We need to make it 16." And then so I had to choose who to keep and who to
say goodbye to.
Who to say goodbye to. And then this was the hard part, because I had to justify why I was keeping these people and why they were going. And so,
well, to each individual, or just to the bosses.
Yeah. So the reason why it was because are they going to be helpful to the business if they stay, and so I went through this decision, and I had some, this is where like I had this moment of like, do I think with my mind or do I think with my heart? Do I think with the head or the heart? And I had, say for example, I had younger chefs who were really great chefs, and then I had older chefs who weren't that great, but those older chefs had kids, and then your younger chefs, they have a mom and dad they can always go back to and stay for a while. This is when it was all up in the air. We didn't know what was going to happen, because it was the first time we've been through a lockdown. So, I went with the heart, and I decided like, I'll just find a way to justify keeping the older guys. And, that's how it fell. And, there were some hard conversations with the team, and it was just hard to see them, like, to look in their eyes. And then, craziest thing is, lockdown finishes, we're back to normal levels, and then everything got busy again. And then I was asked, "Can you go back to those chefs and ask them to come back?" I mean, you've lost their loyalty from their years of building loyalty with them, and it was never the same. I think that I was saying to Danson before, I think the world's never been the same ever since then. So that made me want to leave the second time. And I think the third time was when the second lockdown happened, and at that time I was working at Euro, which was a restaurant. It was probably a restaurant that had been around. It was like one of those iconic restaurants. And when that place closed, I started working as a hammerhand, because I was doing nothing during lockdown, and so I went, and I remember I turned up to the job on the first day, and I went through an agency. So the agency guy took me in, and then we saw this. He introduced me to the foreman, and the foreman says to the agency guy, "Oh, did you have to bring him?" And the guy goes, "Oh, why?" And he goes, "Oh, this guy's he's a chef. He's quite well known." And I was like, "Nah, man, I'm only here just to work. I'm only here." He goes, "Oh, bro, we got shit jobs, eh? Like, I got real shit jobs for you." And I was like, "Bro, I'm only here to work. I'm happy to do anything, eh?" So he goes to the backyard of this massive mansion, and he goes, "Oh yeah, so see that? We got to dig a hole that long." And so I was like, "Sweet, give me the spade." So I got into it, and it was good because it's physical activity. You it's another way of relieving stress. Yeah. So I'm doing that, and then at the end of the day, I went up to him and I said, "Oh, so what else do you need?" And he was like, "Oh, you've done it?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I finished it." And he goes, "So you dug it as deep as I said?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure I've done it as deep." So he goes to the back, looks at the hole, and he goes, "Oh man." And I said, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "Oh, this was like supposed to be your work for the week. Like it usually takes, they usually get agency guys and they'll take the whole week to do that."
Bro.
And so, yeah, I'll just keep myself busy. I got to a point where the builders would always ground me off because I was just so, I was just constantly walking around sweeping.
Oh my gosh.
Well, because I was clean, like what what they would do was they needed like these little scraps of wood to like help them with their building, like, you know, to fill in the gap or anything. But because I was constantly walking around sweeping it up, you know, they were saying I was a bit too what's that word? It's a good word.
What? No.
I was too not energetic, but I was too. It'll come to me.
Egos.
I was on my back again.
Man, Wallace, man. You know what you're telling me, Wallace. What you're telling me is that obviously hard work. You said it earlier. Yeah, you work hard and then you play hard. It just seems like the journey. It doesn't. It seems like things don't phase you. Would that be correct? Because this doesn't phase you. Like you couldn't just give me anything. Because people and your attitude. Because some people think I'm a chef. I'm executive chef, and then you go to the agencies. They hey, this is the job we have for you. They could you could have said, oh, how dare you? Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
But you said, no, sorry, just give me whatever. Which tells you the character, your character.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a bit of labor, hard manual work. And I've been, in my career, I've been very lucky. But then, you know, I've been lucky to have like like I said at the beginning, I've been lucky to have really good experiences, and I've also been lucky to learn from really bad experiences. And yeah, you know, the thing is, you know, you make your own luck. Yeah. So with this job, you know, the guys in that company, they decided, you know what, would you like to stick around and like work for longer? And so I started like really thinking, you know what, maybe I could stick around and these guys could start teaching me how to build. And then I get a phone call from a guy that I used to work with, and he was a manager in another hotel. And so he calls me and he goes to me, oh, look, we might be looking for an exec chef. Would you be keen to go back to exec chef? And I had walked away from exec chef. I did not want to be an exec chef anymore. Just, you know, after that first taster was, you know, with the whole lockdown thing, I was like, nah, man, that's, you know, I'm not really keen. Because, oh, you know, it'll be good and there'll be some work-life balance. I was like, yeah, sweet. Then I'll come in an interview. So I went in and I interviewed, and I didn't hear back from them for a while. And then they asked me to come in and do a trial. So I came in, did a trial, and they said, we got another guy doing a trial. And so sweet. So I spoke to that guy again, the one who had informed me about the role. And then he goes to me, look, you should be a shoo-in because your CV is much more full. And, you know, you've got exec chef experience, and, you know, so you should be a shoo-in. And so I was really confident. I got my hopes up. I was like, oh, sweet, you know what, this could be a good role for me. And then I got a phone call from the GM, and he, you know, and I was fully expecting good news. And then he said to me, oh, listen, I'm really sorry, Wallace, but we're gonna go with our other candidate. You know, but you know, thank you for coming in and thank you for your time. And like, it was a job that I initially I didn't want, but because I got so confident about getting it, I thought I was a shoo-in for the role. I just like I got really disappointed when I didn't get it. And I remember there was a line that I used to listen to. It was Eric Thomas, a motivational speaker, and I said it to him. And I said, "Oh, listen, you know what? Thank you for even considering me for the role. I really appreciate it. You know what? I love when people say no to me because I'm just one step closer to a yes." And then I hung up. And then I turned around to my wife and I said, they're gonna call me in 2 weeks. She's like, yeah. And yeah, and they called me in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Bro.
It wasn't for the exec chef role, but man, I loved it. I loved that time there, my time there. And that was another learning.
Bro, man, I tell you what, Wallace, you're a killer, man. You're an absolute killer. What I'm gauging, and I love what you said, because you said, I like to learn. You know, you're a learner. You know, some people like they come to this place where they feel like, oh, I'm an executive chef, you know, I'm killing it, so I've arrived. But what I'm hearing from you is like, no, the journey is still going, regardless of whatever. I keep learning. What I want, and also what I want to ask is that, what do you do? What like you went in the kitchen? You went doing the job in the kitchen, but you're doing all this other stuff. How do you keep refining your craft then? And when you said that to bring you in, do whatever the interview and the test, how did you maintain your craft? Because I know sometimes people think, oh, you just got to keep working on your craft, keep working on your craft. Were you working on your craft whilst you went working in the kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, it's also like riding a bike.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, if you're doing it for that long, of course your skills, they get blunt, like your knife if you don't use it for a long time. So, but it is kind of like riding a bike. Once you know how to do it, then it's really hard to lose it. But also because I was the cook at home as well, so I had to cook at home. Someone had to cook during lockdown. Actually, my wife does all the cooking at home. I just cut the onions when she doesn't want to, and the garlic when she doesn't want to. I want her hands to smell it. Jeez, but yeah,
I love it. I love what you said today. Whoever that guy was, who was the inspirational speaker? Was it
Eric Thomas?
Eric Thomas. And so you say that to him, and then he does call you in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah. They called me and then they offered me another role, which actually worked out better. It was a role that just let me focus on cooking. And I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about them because I actually loved working with that team. It just meant that I got to focus on just pure cooking and leading my team. And, I made some really good friends. Actually, from there, when I opened up Trivet, I brought in a lot of my chefs with me from there.
Wow. Oh, wow. What a because it can dampen someone's mental health. I didn't get it. And you hear all the time. It's very popular in New Zealand, mental health and depression and so forth, and anxiety. You could have went to a state where, oh man, this is not cool. What's happening? And you could have fallen into a state of depression, so to speak. You're like, oh man, this is not cool. But I like you just said, nah, this guy's going to call me back in 2 weeks' time. And I like what you said also. You said that you have to make your own luck. You have to create it. You have to get up off your ass and really just do it. And it seems like I said before, this seems like you as an individual, Wallace, it doesn't faze you. You're just like, okay, this is just part and parcel. I'll navigate. I'll still find my way. I'll still figure things out, and and it works out. It pans out.
I think when you interviewed Charlie, he spoke about his time in the ABs and how he always stayed in the middle, never too high, never too low. And I think with that, I never knew about the word stoicism when I was younger, but it kind of really helped me. So there are times when you can be high and, there are times you can be low, but the idea is to get it back to that center area where you don't overthink things. I think that's the great thing about me is I'm not an overthinker.
Good.
And I think, I've heard people say that they, do you have this inner conversation in your head? I think I'm lucky enough that I don't.
You don't?
I don't have that. No.
Wow.
Yeah, I hope that's normal.
Well, hey, it's doing you well because you look at what you're doing and what you've accomplished thus far, Wallace. Man, it is. I like it, and it is. I love it. You talked about the stoicism. You have to be sometimes. And it's interesting. You mentioned that in terms of the emotion versus, or taking the emotion out of stuff, making some of those specific decisions.
Yeah.
Especially the hard one. You're like, oh my gosh, and be rational, and just be logical. So how has it been now in terms of? Do you still have that kind of when you're kind of put in the corner, you have to make some really difficult decisions, Wallace. Do you still kind of lean more towards the emotion now, or you're like, no, I'm going to think with my logic, my rationale. This is what's best for the restaurant.
I kind of go through I use the emotion, especially if it feels right in your gut, then generally that's probably the right decision, even if it goes against a few people or the general public. But if you make that decision, you got to stick by it. So might as well make a decision that feels right with you, that you can sit with.
Yeah. Hey, gosh. And it was just no, because I say that because I've had to make a decision just the other day or yesterday, and I had the same conversation. Wallace, sometimes I had to take the emotion out of out of some of the decisions I've had to make. Wallace, and be rational and logic about it. And you're right. Sometimes you have to make these decisions. You make it fast, but you just have to stand by it, even if it's the wrong way. You think, "Oh, darn it," and you can maybe change it quickly.
Yeah.
But you just gotta have to stand by some of those decisions. You make it as hard as it is, and I love it that you're able to share that, but also just stand firm on like, hey, it didn't pan out, but this is what I've decided, and so we're gonna stick with it.
Yeah.
That's some really good really good insights. Because I know, like you said, in the kitchen, it's high pressure, and you kind of, you just got to think on your feet, hey, Wallace.
Yeah.
And if you get things wrong, so, oh gosh, and you probably have to reset and whatever, all that kind of stuff. And man, it's just some hard things to kind of carry.
I agree.
To carry, especially when it's your head's on the line. So, have there been times when you've made decisions like, damn, this was the wrong decision, man, damn, and you've kind of regretted it?
Oh, many times. Many times.
In the kitchen.
Oh, we talking about the kitchen?
Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about something else.
Unless you want to bring something else. Is there something else outside of the kitchen you want to talk about?
No, many times I've made the wrong decision, but I guess it's just the learning. You can't just sit there and dwell on it, or else it does get you down and it does weigh heavy. If you continue just to think about it, you got to just learn to move on. You got to, but with moving on, you got to have learned from it as well. You got to have taken the time to, okay, sweet. At least I made the wrong decision there, but at least for next time I know. And then even like if you're talking about like, it can be an everyday thing, to be honest. For example, last night I was looking after a banquet function. It was 100 packs, and they had their timings, but we knew that the organizer, she was a bit scattered with her timings. So I've worked with this organizer before. I should have got a certain, like say a pack. They had some packed lunches that they wanted to give the people who were working in their crew. And me knowing what this organizer was like, I should have got it ready, even though her timing said, "Oh, we want it in 2 hours." It's only a pack sandwich. I could have got it ready 2 hours prior, and then it would have saved me a lot of stress when she did come up and say, "Oh, actually, those sandwiches that we need in an hour and a half, I need it now." So little decisions like that, but then there's also big decisions as well. And I go back to your question about how the kitchen was very famous or very infamous for its culture of your angry chefs and throwing pots and pans, and I generally my leadership is always kind of, I don't try to lead with fear like they used to. I always try to lead with love, because I found that if they love me, then they're gonna work harder for me. So, but they can tell if you don't love them back. So you gotta ensure that you're looking after them, and if they feel that you look after them, they'll look after you. So I say, if I look after my team, they'll look after me back. And when I say by looking after me, it's like not calling in sick, turning up on time, or working to the best of their abilities, organizing themselves, making sure their areas are clean. Just those little things make my job so much easier, because I've got a team of level-headed chefs who are, who care about what they do, and it just makes my job easier. But as long as they know that you care for them and you're looking out for their best interests, they're always going to give you 100%.
It's good. I totally agree, Wallace. It's quite reciprocal when you you care for the staff, or you're making sure that everyone's on the same page, but you care for them and you show them the kind of respect. And you're right, it's reciprocal. In return, I got your back, Wallace. Because Wallace cares for us, we're going to do it. Have there been times, Wallace, when you've been like, I'm going to show them a lot of love and a lofa, and it's just been not reciprocated? Like, what the?
Oh, many times.
And you feel like, you know what? I'm just going to throw give me that pen and just, well, tell us, give some examples when it hasn't been harmonious, when you're like, this guy, I've been trying to show love, trying to be patient with them, lenient with them, and this person just thinks they can get away with whatever.
Oh man, that's happened a few times. I've had one guy, and I guess it was my fault too, because he walked out on me. And it's probably the only chef that's ever walked out on me, and I feel really bad about it because I did put him in a position where he wasn't going to succeed because I expected too much out of him. It was a young chef, and I put him in a position. I think because he was Samoan, I expected. I saw a bit of myself in him, so I pushed him.
Oh.
And when I say I pushed him, I pushed them in the way of work. I believe you can do this. I believe you can do this. I kept on pushing him, you can do this. You can do this. And then I think it was about a month after, he still hadn't reached that potential that I wanted for him. I kind of had a go at him about it, and I still regret it to this day. I remember the look that he gave me before he walked out, and I remember how angry I was, and then I remember about 20 minutes how bad I felt. Because I was like, oh man, I really let him down because he came in and he wanted to work with me. And although I thought that I was doing right by pushing him and, trying to push him to what I thought his potential was, what I was doing was just pushing him out, not pushing him in.
Jeez, good insights. So was this after you fussied him? Or was after you really literally pushed him?
That's right. Make sure HR doesn't hear about that one. I told you that in secret.
Man, what else you said, dude? Man? No wonder why.
I was getting serious, man.
What is that, dude, man? So, wedding will not come out.
Nah. Oh man, that was a setup. That was a setup.
Oh my gosh, Wallace, this guy.
Oh nah, sorry.
Well, I look at the camera. Serve you right, man. Serve you right. You can handle the kitchen. You can handle the heat. You can. Oh man.
Oh, that came out of nowhere.
Man, Wallace. But hey, we're human. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. You're upfront about some of the things that you go through, and as a man, and some of the hardships and some of the decisions you have to make, regardless. And you're gonna people are gonna have your back. People are gonna hate you, and they're gonna smile, but really behind your back, they're like, "Oh man, Wallace, whatever." And it seems that it's just part and parcel, Wallace.
Yeah,
it comes with the territory.
I'm fortunate though that I haven't had many options. And maybe I'm just too forgiving, or maybe I'm just too blind to see it. But I've been, the ones that I generally don't get along with, or the ones that I thought, I've been trying, but they're not. They generally tend to leave because I'm not gonna make them happy. I don't make them happy. And then you got my team who have seen me go off at someone. I think in the past year I've only gone off once at anyone in the kitchen. And I remember I was going off at them, and I turned around and I looked at one of the kitchen hand I have a kitchen hand that I worked with for about 5 years now, and all the chefs just went real quiet, and they were just looking, and they were like, whoa, this is a side of Wallace that we haven't seen. And I was going at him, and I turned around, I looked at the kitchen hand, and he did this, he went this, he did this to me, because he's older, and he did this to me, meaning calm down. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh man, this is not my character.
Get off.
He was like, do you want me to throw you the jandal?
Oh man, gosh, that's was so interesting in the kitchen, man.
Some funny stories.
Oh my gosh,
There's some funny stories.
Oh man, Wallace.
I got to tell you this. So I'd been writing a series. I've written a series about the kitchen. It's basically the office version of the kitchen of the restaurant, and it was. I started writing it during lockdown because we did the sprint with Picky Pitch, which is Picky Films, But one of the stories from there, I got to tell you about it because it's one of the funniest stories. So this is the whole reason why I started writing was because when I heard this. So I had this this sous chef, and he comes I was up in the freezer and I come downstairs and I tell the sous chef, yo, you need to get the commies into the freezer after service because they've all it's a mess up there. Like it looks like someone like blew a bomb inside there. So he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, okay, yes, we chef. So he walks off and he's like, you two, come over here. And so he calls these two young guys, and the two young guys walk up and he goes, oh, after the service, I want both of you to go up in the freezer and clean it. And then one of the chefs, so I'm sitting there in my office and I'm like just listening to the conversation. I'm on the computer and then I hear one of the young chefs go to him, but chef, we cleaned it yesterday. And he goes, and so as soon as he said that, I was like, oh man, like, why did you take that? The idea is we chef. Every answer is just we chef. So he goes, what did you say? And that young chef goes, oh, we cleaned it yesterday. So he goes, you two, come closer. And he starts whispering at them. And he goes, tell me, did you take a shit today? And so like I'm in the back and I'm like, hey, like what is he on about? And like, so I see those two chefs and they start like looking at each other, like they're both looking at each other. And he goes, tell me, did you take a shit today? And he was like, yes, chef. And he goes, did you wipe your ass? And he's like, yes, chef. And he goes, oh, okay. And what about yesterday? Did you take a shit? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, we chef. And he goes, did you wipe your ass yesterday? And both of them are like in unison, we chef. And he goes, okay. So yesterday you take a shit, you wipe your ass. But today, if you take a shit and you don't wipe your ass, what happens? And then I stood there, I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good line. I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good line. I'm going to use that.
So those poor guys, they went up and they
both like, chef will go clean it after service.
Bro, my gosh. You must have countless stories, Wallace. Oh my gosh. But Wallace, maybe just because I know you said earlier on ABs, because I love my sports. And I know you played rugby as well, a bit of rugby, and so you were like the head chef for the ABs. What was it like? What was it like? Tell us, give us some insights. What was it like cooking for the ABs and being part of seeing that surrounding and the environment?
Oh, it was crazy. It was hectic. I think I'd been working around the background with the managers for quite a while, and then I'd say probably about 8 months prior to actually meeting the team, I'd been working with them, like making up the menus, because it was actually just for the Rugby World Cup. So they don't generally have a chef with them, but they needed a chef because for France to host the Rugby World Cup, they said it was going to be the most profitable Rugby World Cup. That's what they said. So a way of increasing profitability was, instead of putting teams into 5-star hotels, we'll put them into 3 or 4-star hotels on the outer skirts of the cities. And the reason why the ABs needed a chef was because they have like all rugby teams, they have a massive amount of food, a massive buffet. I wouldn't say massive, but it's so much variety. And that variety ensures that everyone and the 70 members of the team, that's including managers, have something to eat that matches their diet. And so my job was to go into those French kitchens and tell French chefs how to cook or how to do it. But so doing that was like crazy. And then getting to hang out with the boys was awesome. I think my first, I'll tell you about my first time I met them. I had done this activity for the managers where they all come in and I show them how to fillet a fish, but then I have a whole bunch of these ingredients laid out on the table. And basically after I fillet the fish, I kind of make like a ceviche or oca for them using different ingredients. And then basically I turn around and I say, now it's your guys' turn to do it. So the team, I did that for the managers, and the managers enjoyed it, like they loved it. So what they did was they asked me when I meet the team, can I do the same activity for the boys, like, because they had their own pods in the team, and so it will be like their competition. So I was like, yeah, fine, sweet, I'll be happy to do that. And so we were at a hotel where we were based on the 6th floor, and I set up this whole, I had all the garnishes and all the ingredients, and then I had all the fish, and then I set that all up, and then as I was setting it up, my manager, she comes up to me, she goes, "Oh, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you, and then you're going to say a speech." And I was like, she's like, "You're right to do a speech, yeah?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine. I'll be fine." Like, not even, just being present, not thinking about, not the typical me, like not like worrying about tomorrow, just thinking about what was there. So I was like, "Yeah, it's fine, I'll be sweet." So I went up. So I finished setting up, and then we're waiting around, and I start getting nervous. And then I remember the first lift comes up, and it was like Adi and Rico. They walk out, and I was like, "Yo!" Like, and then Adi comes up, and he's like, shakes my hand. He's like, "Hey, what's up, Buzo?" So yeah, and then I was like, "Yeah." And then so they start filing in, and because there was like 2 lifts, so the next lift would come up, and there was about 5 guys that walk out, and then the next lift would come out 6, and then like next minute they're all piling into that room. They all look tired too. I think they had just played the final, the super final, and then they were all like training all day. So they all come in, and so like I'm looking around, and I'm like starting to get scared. I'm like, oh no, I have to do a speech in front of these dudes. And so they all standing there. I think Fozzie was talking about their training or whatever they had planned for the week. It was a really informal type of meeting. And then so Kat, she goes up, she starts talking about. She starts saying, "Oh, I'd like to introduce you guys to Wallace Mua. He'll be coming with us to the Rugby World Cup as as our chef." Wallace, he's gonna come up and say a few words. So generally, me, I've done a few chef's tables, so I have this line, and it's kind of a good way to break the ice for any of my chef's tables that I do. So I'll go up and I'll be like, go on about what I'm gonna make for the food, and then I'll end it by kind of like embarrassing myself. So I'll say, "Look, the whole idea for you guys to be around here is to enjoy yourself, be well fed, have a good night, and basically leave here feeling like I already pleasured all of you." Then I would pause, and then I would say, everyone would have that reaction, and then I'll be like, "Well, food, you dirty bastards," and then everyone would start laughing, and it always works because it's a good way to break the ice when I'm doing those chef's tables. So I'm walking up. And as I'm walking up, like there's about like 40 dudes, and they're all bigger than me, and they're all like just like standing there, like just watching me like this. So I walk up to them, and I'm like shaking. I'm like, "Hi, my name is Wallace. I just like to," I was just like blundering through it. And in my head, as I'm saying this, I'm like thinking, "Oh man, I'm ruining the speech. Like, it's not often I'm ever gonna get to stand in front of these guys and do a speech." So in my head, I was like, what can I do? What can I do? As I'm like blubbering through it, and I'm like, I'll use that line because it always breaks the ice, right? So I'm like, blubbering through the speech, and then I get to that point of like, "Look, guys," and I start getting real confident because I've rehearsed it many times. Like, "Look, guys, the whole point of me coming to the Rugby World Cup with you is to ensure A, you guys are fed, B, to help you guys bring the cup home, C, to ensure that you guys are well satiated, and B, basically, have you guys all leaving France feeling like I already pleasured all of you." And I stood there like this. And so there was this awkward, you play on that awkward silence. That awkward silence is very important. So I stood there. The thing is that awkward silence should only last maybe 2 seconds, maximum 3. And I think I stood there for about 15, 20 seconds, just going like this to them.
Oh, man.
To the point when they all started like looking at each other like this. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill it when I say." So I'm just standing there like this, like smiling at them, like looking around. And then I think I remember like Aaron Smith, like look, turned around and looked at someone else, and they all like looking at each other, like, "Who is this guy?" And then I said, "Oh man, you guys are gonna laugh so hard." Like in my head, I'm saying, "You guys are gonna laugh so hard when I deliver this punchline." And I said, "Well, food, you dirty bastards." And I think about one of them went, "Ha!"
Oh my
gosh. I think all color drained from my face. And I went back, I was like shaking.
Oh, Wallace.
So I went and stand back, and then they had Carlin, who was one of the videographers. Jeez. And he created the content. He was
Lyoto, is it?
Carlin. Oh man, I love Carlin. So he was there, and this is the first time I met Carlin, and he turns around and looks at me. He's like, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Nah, I'm definitely not." But it was a real good way to break the ice. So I ended up doing a cover with them that night, and like that whole night they were just mocking me.
Oh man, you know what it is, Wallace? Those dirty bastards, man. They're probably like, oh, is he Wallace? Is he still Aaron Smith? Hey, Aaron Smith. Hey, man.
No, I'm not gonna say anything like it. Is it for real?
Oh yes. Oh boy. Ugly man.
Oh, you had to take it there.
Man, Wallace, that's bro.
Can we edit that one out?
Doesn't just not. Oh, Wallace.
But watching them, like the way that that the whole squad moves, and you know everything was like timed by the hour. You know, they had like their free time was like very limited. Sleep was a really important. So like, you know, my job was like just to cook and ensure that the food was like ready and all there on time. And I actually thought that one thing I was very nervous about was like going into a different kitchen, a French kitchen, and telling the French chefs, no, this has to be done like this. We need this. We need this. And because in all my experiences, they would just give it straight back to like, who the hell is this guy? Like, who is he? But so big was that brand, that All Black brand, is that when I walked into the kitchen, they were just like very respectful, like whatever you need will help. You know, this is the All Blacks, you know. And then watching the boys, the way that they handled their pressure, it was very, it was very inspirational because I knew what type of pressure that they were on. But then when you hung out with them, you wouldn't know it, like, you know, but you know that it's there. But you know, for them, it was just more like having one of the usos around. You know, they treated me like a uso. They looked after me. You know, the guys I got really close to was Mark Tele and Ari.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, man, to this day, I'm super thankful for the experience.
Bro, what a privileged position to be. And the thing is, as privileged as it is, Wallace, you earn your stripes, man. You earn your the place to be there. I was like, do you sometimes often like not often, but do you sometimes have to pinch yourself like, bro, I'm doing these things, amazing things, amazing heights, experiencing all these things that probably necessarily I wouldn't have done if I became a firefighter. Or if you went down a different avenue or a different route. But you're doing things and you're rubbing shoulders with these celebrities and some amazing people, and it's not because it's because of your hard work, and your tenacity, and that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm gauging from you, Wallace. That you're, like you said, you have to make your own luck. You don't just go, okay, well, just see what happens. I'll just sit here and just hopefully something falls out from the sky and then I'll get lucky. Yeah, but you actually put in the hard work. You really do, and that's why I appreciate men like yourself.
Thank you.
Men like yourself, and it is really do, because people can talk and have a good game, talk a good game. I do this and that, and then the proof's in the pudding. You also, it's the proof's in the pudding. To be in that position and do all these things.
Thank you, also.
No, mad props, also. Mad props. I'm a big fan. I love what you do and how you do it. And even more so, just hearing the stories of, oh my gosh.
Is it bad though that I still feel like I haven't worked hard enough, or I haven't done enough, you know? And I guess that's just the way I feel, like, and I guess that's a good way to feel, but I still feel like, man, I've done nothing yet. Like, you know, there's still so much to do, and I haven't worked hard enough, you know? That's sometimes how I feel. And I guess that can be detrimental to think like that, but it can also be a benefit, because then it keeps
you on your toes, and you keep going. And I think that's normal for a lot of people who just strive to do things and strive to do excellence, for excellence, because often we can be our own worst critics. We can like, other people in the public appreciate it, and our own family members appreciate what you do. Sometimes we can't see it for ourselves, like, but also.
We'll turn the podcast around and now can we put the camera on?
no, I'm saying, but you are. It's about you. So
I appreciate it.
I know it's about you. And even if you don't see it, because sometimes we're quite harsh on ourselves. But I appreciate it, and I know I can guarantee you, a lot of people appreciate what you do, and the skill set that you have, and the talent that you have. It's amazing, also. And so I also wanted to add, because you talked about your wife earlier on, your partner in France, and you have your wonderful son, family, and I know your Samoans, Ainga.
Yeah.
Tell me about your lovely wife and also your son.
So I'll start with Anais. So we met in Hospo. We actually met at Soba. We were about 22 years old. So she's been a massive part of my career. Not that she's the only one, because basically I've had my brothers and sisters support, family support. So it has taken a village to get me here. I'm very thankful for that. But she's just been very instrumental in it, especially with my mindset. I guess I would say I was quite naive and quite innocent when I first met her, and as a typical French, she put that that debate in me to always question whether this was right or this was wrong, and and kind of really follow what I believe was like what I felt was right in my gut. Fiery, probably the opposite of what I am. Where I'd be water, should be fire. And then we've been together for 15 years, married. I need to get this right.
You better get it right. That's it. Edit this one.
Married 14. Definitely edit this one. No, married 14 years, and then my son Cole is 9 years old. He's a beautiful kid. He's smart. He's going to be much smarter than I was. Hopefully, much taller. He's not. Me and him don't have a lot of the same interests, but I would have loved to have a kid who was like really into sports and really loved. But I think again, he's much smarter than was, which is probably way more important, especially in this world. Academically, I think he'll be very good, but I think I've got a little artist there, so it scares us to know that we could have an artist, because I'm an artist, and I was lucky to fall into chefing because chefing has that stability of getting that pay. Whereas, what I originally wanted to be was that musician, and being a broke musician doesn't pay your board at home when you're younger. So and I didn't have the courage to do that. But I think if my son does want to go down that path, I will be able to kind of like support him and be in a better position to kind of like advise him on what he chooses in life. I guess like the whole idea is he's a beautiful kid. There's not much else I could say about him, because I think you got to meet him to know what type of kid he is. And I can't say more. I think I say I love you to him maybe about 20 times a day. And actually in the morning when we drive, we have this mantra that I always talk to him about. So I do the school drop-offs. So in the mornings I always ask him, what's the goal for today? And his answer is be happy. Like that's the answer that I've taught him, but I've been saying it to him for about 4 years now. So I ask him, what's the goal for today? He says, be happy. And then I say to him, who makes Cole happy? And he goes, me. Then I say to him, who makes Cole sad? Me. And that's just so he can, that the reason why I asked him that was so that he could learn to know that it's kind of similar to that you make your own luck. And then I would ask him, what do we not do too much? And then he says, complain. So that's one thing that I don't do much, is I don't complain, because I don't want to be a victim. So I ask him that, and then I ask him, what do we not show? What do we not show them? And then he says, his answer is tears. And that is because he's a kagi valley.
was like, what a sad dude.
I was a Kangi Valley too when I was little. But yeah, tears. And then what was our last question that we asked? What do we not show too much? And then I'll ask him, who's my best friend in the world? And he says, Cole. So that's every morning with him.
Bro, you're the medals, you're the mad props. Bro, and I say that because I do the same thing. I used to do the same. My kids are much older now. My daughter's 20 and my son's now 15. And I used to do the same thing. Or not similar thing. Similar thing. And we had a mantra. My thing was, my daughter, you're the most she'll finish off electrifying girl in the world. Where are you strong? She's strong here. Where else? You're strong here. She's strong here and here. But it's interesting, man. We'll see.
I'll borrow that one. That's a good one.
But even now, even to this day, she's 20 years old now. So I drop her off to sometimes MIT. She's studying social work, and she has Down syndrome. But I say to her, "You're the most," and she goes, "I'm the most electrifying young lady in the world." And it's just, and who was it? That's who you are. That's who you are.
Yeah.
And so, man, bro, you are leaps and bounds ahead of the game, Moose. As young as you are, and then bro, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And Cole's and your lovely wife, blessed to have you. And vice versa, Oos. Like, man, I tell you what,
appreciate that.
I really enjoy this Delanoa. Because you speak from the heart, Wallace, and there's no, because sometimes you have this conversation and you just kind of feel the energy, but the energy you have, you're very humble.
Thank you.
Maybe because just our Pacifica, this is how we are, how we roll, very humble, but I also know you're very, very strong, but also very, very stoic. Also,
thank you for that.
No, I do. I mean it. I mean it also. Because when I look at chefs and look at artists, and you mention something, and I want to delve into this. You mentioned you're a musician. So are you a guitarist or a pianist? Or were you a vocalist? What, how did it just kind of how did you kind of leave that kind of dream or whatever it was, go and then just kind of end up being a chef? Tell us, elaborate about the music side.
So I think I grew up really into my music. I started learning guitar, and then I started singing, and then I started writing my own songs, and then it was something that I was really into. I had a good friend Mac who got me into. He got me when we were about maybe 13. He got me into barbershop singing, and then we had the older island boys who would
yes, in Wellington, is it?
No, but we used to that was our competition. So it was always us versus Tawa College in Wellington. For a couple of years there, we had we were lucky enough to have the older boys that kind of took us in, and then they taught us that 4-part harmony. And this barbershop music is pretty cheesy, super cheesy.
I love that, man.
But yeah, I enjoyed it so much, and those were tours as well. We'd go on tours for that, especially when you had the music finals. So I got into that, and then I started writing my own music. And I think even during the time I was in France, I was my Lily's brother. He's a beat maker and he's a rapper. So he got me into writing songs with him, and I found it super easy to write in France because it was French. I couldn't, and this was quite early on, I couldn't necessarily express myself as much. So a lot of the time when I used to start writing, it was so much easier to write because you held in what you were feeling or what you wanted to express, because you didn't have the words to express them, and so it was so much easier to write them on as lyrics for a song. And so yeah, I mean that was what I wanted to do as a youngster, I think. But as you grow older, you kind of start to realize you need to contribute. You need to have a steady income, especially. So I guess I go back to what I said. I didn't have the courage to pursue that dream because I needed to contribute. I needed to do my part. Because the family as a unit, and everyone does. But even when you're a youngster, if you're, in Samoa families, if you're, when you're young, then you do chores and you help around. You know, you make sure your grandparents get their ipuki and their sofalawa. They were going back. So must. Oh, but you know, damn man, that takes me back. The kopai koko.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, you know, so I was lucky enough that I fell into chefing. To be honest, I didn't want to be a chef. It wasn't the plan to be a chef, but I just fell into it. And then I think what really helped me was that it kind of got to do that artistic part, but you got to do it on a plate, you know. So it was kind of like a middle ground, but you still had I still got paid every week, so that I could. So I managed to find something where it kind of met both needs. And then I just got lucky. And I wouldn't say I'm the best chef. I think there's like so many other chefs who are more talented than me. And again, I would say I've been lucky and blessed to be noticed, because there's in New Zealand there's probably like 20,000 chefs, you know, and they're all super talented. I can learn off a chef that's been chefing for a year. I can learn off an 18-year-old, and then I can learn off a 50-year-old chef, you know. So there's always something I can take from everyone. So, you know, out of those 20,000 chefs, to be someone in a position like myself, I've just been very blessed and very lucky.
Yeah. Also, because you are talented, and I think you put in the work. You put in the work, man. Jeez, oh, bro, it's just what a awesome talanoso, my old lover.
Nah, I appreciate you guys having me.
It is just the conversation and having this, and just you sharing, because you said you didn't have the courage to pursue your music and so forth. Well, hopefully you get the courage today or tonight.
Oh,
because because I love the barbershop, and you say you're a singer, vocalist, and you what's your favorite song? Just randomly, what's your favorite song on the radios right now? Or your genre? Is it genre? I'm assuming R&B, slow jam.
It's everything.
Everything.
I usually if I do karaoke, I'll usually try to bots it and go like "In Somebody to Love" by Queen.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but that's after a few. That's one of my favorite songs to sing when.
But maybe you don't mind, because maybe obviously there's no alcohol here, but
I think I sound good in my head. I don't know if I sound good out loud.
Bro,
but I mean,
if you were singing Baba, you must be really good, man. Any
been
song,
a while.
any song, because I love to hear the singing Chef Wallace Mua.
I'll tell you what, if you have a guitar, I'll do one of my originals.
Oh, do I have a guitar? I'm pretty.
Oh, too bad.
I have a guitar somewhere around here somewhere. You can do a cappella, man. You can.
Ooh, I don't know. I'd rather do kikala as a flat. I mean, I can tune it. Did it take too much time?
Yes, kikala. Yeah,
oh man, I shouldn't have said anything.
Bro, man, you are a talented cat, man. You are a talented man. Jeez. So are you one of those guys? One of those chefs, Wallace, that you sing and you're cooking at the same time and they're just blasting.
Oh yeah. Oh. I mean, and that's what I love. Like, because if you hear when my chefs are singing in the kitchen, I know they're having a good time. They're enjoying this, and I love hearing that when they're all singing. I used to get told to shut up in the kitchen, like when I was singing. So.
Because maybe your voice is that good, man.
Nah, maybe
they're jealous, man. They're envious. Like, this guy can cook. He's executive chef and he can sing as well. Oh my gosh.
Oh nah, man. This is put me on the spot here. I don't know. I hope she's got kikala, but
there's a kikala here somewhere. But also before we get the kikala, and I always love to ask this question, because and I am mindful of time as well, Wallace. The not the end game, but the legacy. Obviously, you said it early on. There's still so much more that I have to achieve or accomplish, or yet to accomplish. What's the legacy for Wallace Mua, in terms of, it doesn't have to be about culinary or cooking or be a chef, but what's the legacy that you would like to be remembered for, Wallace?
I guess if it's not culinary, I just being a good person.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe I've helped out a few along the way. But yeah, ideally lived a good life and been a good person.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not even surprised about the answer. Also, the people, the men or the people that've come on who are quite successful and who've accomplished amazing feats, they always say the same thing, just to help people. It's just something about it. It's just to help people and to be a good person. And I've heard it time and time again. And these people who have, like yourself, have achieved so much and yet to achieve even more so. And it seems to be their common theme. I just want to help people. And also, I tell you, lover, just I guess we can carry on and have and prolong the conversation and just keep talking. So that's why part two, when you come back in the Wallace Mua restaurant, whatever it is, wherever the journey takes you. So, but. Because and I'd love to have you back on, man. Because man, also,
before I just want to say thank you to what you guys are doing here too. Because you know, these conversations are really important, especially for us to hear. And you hear that, you know, even though you're going through some stuff, there's, you know, it's shared. So there's always someone else going through it. So it helps in that way. And yeah, you just thank you guys for what you guys do, because I think this is a very important podcast.
Oh man, I love it. Thank you. So, it is you share some really good insights in terms of well-being and that our men need to hear. And you never know, Wallace. Someone maybe you're listening to or watching is like, man, I'm going through that. Or then maybe a budding chef who was, I want to be a chef, and that, man, that's what he's been going through. I need to hear that, and I appreciate that also. But man, I have to tell you, love for your time also. And we're going to do something different. This is the first time ever in the years that we've been running this podcast. Hopefully you can tune that kikala, Wallace. There's another kikala. I know there's another kikala. Ask that guy to get the. This is the executive chef.
Put on the spot.
This is the executive chef. You can't get a kikala with 3 strings. We're gonna end this. We're gonna
shouldn't have said anything, eh?
Bro, Wallace, man, I know your game, man. I know your game, and Wallace, this is the first time ever, Wallace, that we're getting our guests to actually. We've had a guest sing, but they've never sung to conclude and play the kikala at the same time. And so, there we are.
Yeek.
Is it another one?
That's so good. This is good.
So we're gonna Wallace Mua is going to take us away with not only is he the maestro in the kitchen, he's also the maestro on the gate as well, and he plays. He played that side as well.
Yeah.
No way.
I feel like I'm pressured into this. So.
What is this, man? What is this guy?
I'm just trying to find an EA.
Is it? I'm sure there's another kikala. The other one. There's another.
That's all good. This will work.
Okay. We'll see. That man's like, so I can play 2 strings, 1 instrument.
I might just try and tune this.
And we get the privilege of hearing you. And how long you been playing for anyway, Wallace? Years,
ages. But to be honest, I haven't played in a while.
Who's the other person? Who's the other one person who plays on that side? Do you know of Wallace?
This is a Samoan guy actually. He's man. What's his name?
TJ.
TJ. Wow, man. So I'm nowhere near that level.
Yeah, I know. You're better. You're
So that guy he's so good. If this is bad, can we leave it?
Nah, bro. This is this. All you're doing, Wallace, you're just displaying your the strings in your bow, man. That's what it is. The multi-talented skills that you have. But even playing like that, that's difficult, man. But while you're working on the kizu saw, every guest that comes on, and I know I don't know if you've seen the end of every episode, like, and you talk about art. I love art. I'm a visual artist, but I always give our guests a caricature or cartoon of how I envision them to be. And so also, whilst you doing that, I want to gift you this also on behalf of the Mandate team, on behalf of Danton and Caroline. Also, this is for you, the caricature for you.
Oh, bro, this is beautiful. That's still going up in my wall.
Oh man,
thanks a lot.
No, thank you. Thank you. And
I love it.
And I'm excited to hear the singing chef of Aotearoa.
Like I said, if I might have to edit this, I just try and get this tuning done.
Hey, no, we got take your time. We got time also. I want to capture this on camera, man, because. Whilst you do that, Wallace, just one more question as well. What makes a good chef? Obviously, you said what makes a good chef. What's the ingredients? It's just a bit of a pun there, but what's the one?
I'd say definitely being a sponge. It goes through the years, so you got to be a sponge for all your years, like to learn. You also got to love it. You have a passion for it. If you really want to be known, you got to have a passion for it of hospitality, and that's something that I really want. That's why I think we need some more Samoan chefs, because we're used to hosting our families over, and I think what we're doing is like, say, basically when your families come over, it's basically like a restaurant. Because you're hosting them, but you also have that protocol, like say for example, where your grandparents eat at the table and the kids sit at the floor.
Yeah.
You learn the protocols of what it's like to go through a meal, and then it's also sitting there and like enjoying that company and time. So when they, I'll tell you about the story of Trivet, but man, like I think there's many different elements to being a good chef. It's also hard work, turning up on time, just turning up. Turning up and just willing to give it 100%.
Yeah. And there's special ingredients, eh? They're going to play kikala and
the reason I started. Please,
the extras.
Oh man, I can't believe I'm doing this. Just try that. Can I move this?
Yeah.
So this song I wrote. Okay, so I wrote this one. It was about drug addiction. This song. So. I'm gonna get it in. Say, how many of you guys are getting into this?
Bro, man, go.
Started out in love, pen my weeks so I just escape with you. No more sick days or days in blue. And sometimes you were a bust. I gave you all my time for free. Well, I paid for everything. Well, I've applied my decisive mind to a stupid type of addiction. I was wrong, but I never listened. And when my mind once despised is now the first thing on my wish list. I gave you up just for your business, so gave you all of me. You took everything, left the smell of disease that just won't give me no peace, yeah. And even when I'm high, a part of me still dies, feeling you so easy, but in the end it's so uneasy, babe. High as a kite, long day at work, wrong way to earn, I'm about to get right. With her past, match your lies, match your struggles away. Wasn't shy, feeling for her princess near all day, thinking of night in the flame. As soon as I walked in the frame of that imperfect picture of life, was ready to split after my first hit, but got trapped cause that hocus pocus that she evoked was some dope shit, hopelessly addict. with a hopelessness fasten. Give glass whip until Max and damn I'll make magic. And after this acid, the shit's gonna be tragic. But I'm just right past it, blasted. Well, I've applied my decisive mind to a stupid type of addiction. I was wrong, but I never listened. And what my mind once despised is now the first thing on my wish list. I gave you up just for your business, so gave you all of me. You took everything, left a smell of disease that just won't give me no peace, yeah. And even when I'm high, part of me still dies. Feeling you so easy, but in the end I'm so uneasy, babe.
Jeez. Oh.
Yeah.
Please don't. Please don't forget to subscribe, ladies and gentlemen.
We're gonna cut that out.
Please, no. That is definitely going to be in, guys. Bro, you're super talented. Please don't forget to subscribe. And once again, the executive chef, head chef, Trivet, the man himself, Wallace Mua.
Thank you.
Oh man, Wallace, silly. Band-Aid.